Hello, my name is Jeff Walker, and welcome back to Jeff Walker Books discussion. Today I'm going to talk about science fiction self-publishing and my feelings about it. First off, if you're a self-publisher like me, yeah, it's hard. It is like trying to show a book in a sea of people with their own books, with their own agents, with their own people going right to the front of the line, whereas you're just struggling to get a foothold in that same crowd. It's been hard. I won't lie. But I mean, I'm still trying to get through this as best I can. It hasn't been easy. Getting reviews, not that easy. Those that have reviewed me generally like my stuff. I've gotten some good reviews and some bad ones. I won't lie to that. I mean, it's learning lessons for everything. You will get bad reviews, and yes, it will hit you hard at some point. But it's no need to lash out at those reviewers. Reviewers are there to help you. Some can be good reviewers, some can be bad reviewers. And what I mean by that is some will give you a detailed list of what they didn't like in the book, or where they felt your book wasn't at its strongest. And bad ones are the ones that don't say anything, or they just leave a 1-star with a flippant kind of saying, or just saying I didn't like it. That's not a review. And you can disregard those ones outright. If you get many of them, then there's something up. I mean, there's definitely something up with that, because if you get people that are just coming on there to diss your book constantly, then there's a reason why they're trying to push you out. That could be from anything from your book is that bad, or your book is being sought to be pushed out of somebody else's way. And that does happen. I have seen it. I have seen somebody's book dive because another book is coming up at the same genre, or they just feel like they should have more audience members and they enlist gangs to punish your book. And I have seen that. And it does exist. Don't say it doesn't. It does. And the reviewers, I think, know. Because book bloggers are good and bad. Like anything. I'm not blaming book bloggers or reviewers. You know, people know their profession well. It's the ones that come in that want to sensationalize themselves about it, or create controversy for just the sake of getting more likes or subscribers. Generally, most reviewers are good, and book bloggers are good, but you just have to be wary like anything else out there. And have I had it happen to me? No, not really. I mean, I've had the 1-star with no real good comment to make reviewers, and generally I don't respond to them, and you shouldn't. I have responded to some in the past when I first started out. When your first book comes out, then you get hit with some bad reviews, you will not like it. But the one rule is you never talk to them. You just accept and move on. And that's good advice. And I took that advice to heart. And I think it's a good policy to have. I mean, and even when the review comes in and it's favorable, I don't think you should respond. Unless, prompted to by the reviewer. You can always ask the reviewer themselves if it's all right for you to say something, but generally, unless they invite it, yeah, I'd say no. maybe you can give them a shout out on Twitter without, without linking them, or, well, you can link them, without making it sound like you're directing too much at them. Just, a positive, hey, I got this nice review from this person, thank you very much. But I would never directly answer a review that was posted. Because some reviewers don't like knowing that the book, the author is hovering over their reviews. And I generally don't know how some reviewers are. Some reviewers are pretty good about it. Some reviewers just generally are too shy and don't want to deal with it. So I'm going to say that was a definite, just don't do it. And I can't understand, I've seen on Twitter where writers are coming to the reviewers and just letting it all out on them. I don't understand that. To me, that's bad, and it shouldn't be done. Much as a reviewer should not harp on and on and on to the writer. Reviews are there for what they are. For not for you, but for the reader. So, as a writer, you just don't respond, period. And you can let the reviewers hash it out, because reviewers like to review other reviewers, apparently. So, yeah, and my general feeling on that is that when a review is done, you need to think about it. You need to ponder that review. You need to let it absorb. Some people say 4 stars are bad reviews. I don't see it that way. I see that's a pretty positive. Even a 3. I'd take a 3 any day. It's your book was good, but wasn't 5 kind of like thing. 4 is like, the book was really good and I would recommend it kind of thing. And 5 is just like, wow, amazing. Shout it to the rooftops. So, but anything below the 3, like the 2 and the 1, not good. But you need a reason why. And I'd like to say that everybody will give a good reason as to why they gave it, and some people will not. You've just got to take it with a grain of salt. So as a self-publisher, it's harder for us because we don't have the support system of our agents. Some of us don't even have agents. I don't have an agent. I don't. I just, can't afford it. But if the book's good and you got a lot of good reviews and you get that one bad review, that's, you know what? Take what you got. That one review will not change anything. You've got to have a backbone for this. And I know it's hard. Maybe take a moment and find a way to deal with it. But you just gotta try to get through it and go to the next title if you have one in you. I've just been kept going, and it's reflective that I just crank out books because what do I got now? About 7, 8, 9, 10 novels already, or books that I've done already, and I generally just want to keep pushing them out. I know I try to slow myself down, and some days I feel like writing, some days I don't. And that's just the general thing. I mean, if I had a publisher pretty much asking every day, where's the book? Then I'd be like, okay, I better get on this. And I would make it a full-time career if that was the case. Because if I can't concentrate on it, like I don't have a publisher paying me to make this book. I know some publishers pay ahead to get the book done so that the person can stay home and get the book done. And that's I think that's pretty much why self-publishing is harder, because we have to do this on our own time. That being said, that's it for that topic there. I'm not going to go too much further in the self-publishing pitfalls there. But moving on to my next little item is science fiction writers. Generally, I can't comment too much on them. I mean, there's a few books out there I like, and then there's a few I'm not too happy with. Mainly the Star Wars novels I'm not happy with. I won't get into the High Republic because that's a whole nother ball game, and I don't really want to go into that one too much. But the Star Wars novels are full of what I call fluff writing. And what is fluff writing? When I talk about fluff writing to me is when you've taken a chapter and you've expanded it on a topic that absolutely has nothing to do with the story. There is so much fluff in some of these novels. It just baffles me how anything gets accomplished within a couple of chapters of these books. There's one I've been listening to on my way to work, a Star Wars novel, and it's just been. I mean, it was like nearly the entire chapter was about Luke's coming to grips with some things while he's on some sort of assignment. And while it's great and everything, it's a Star Wars book. You need to have action the minute you step into it. And if you can't, then the book is just a snooze fest. His started... I don't want to mention the title, because I don't like singling out. I mean, I've done that before. I've singled out some stuff. I've singled out Timothy Zahn. I'm not a big fan of Timothy Zahn. I mean, I like his character of Thrawn, and I wish he had focused more on Thrawn. But generally, I didn't like most of his chapters. And sometimes it might not be the writer that's doing it. It could be the editor. Because sometimes editors like to increase the weight of the book and like to aid the writer in making it longer so that you get more pages. And I generally hate that. I hate that they try to fluff it out. And that's why I call it fluffing out the chapter. Fluffing out writing, because when you fluff it out, it makes the book too long. I like a book to be very to the point, actionable. I'd like the characters to be fleshed out fairly easy, that the reader can follow along without having to be bogged down with like tons of backstory or inner thoughts. And I'm like going, well, not everybody enjoys that. Everybody just wants to get to the point of the book, the story. So that's what I think is fluff writing. Fluff writing is expanding a chapter for no good reason. That means increasing certain elements that have no need to be increased, like talking at ends about, oh, here's a lightsaber. Well, this lightsaber was once, handed down to like whatever, and you don't need the history. Unless it's poignant to the story, which sometimes it's not. I found tons of books that had like meaningless whole chapters devoted to nothing. I can't stand it. So I don't enjoy that. My books tend to get to the point for the most part, and I try not to fluff out my chapters. I try to make them neat, tight, and seeing how I'm in science fiction, I want there to be an element of the facts. But I'm not a scientist, so I have to expand on that. So maybe it's in the fantasy genre, so science fiction fantasy. You can kind of embellish on that, and sometimes you have to try to create the technology, and and there's research involved in that for a lot of science fiction writers and science fantasy writers. Sometimes they get They have to look it up and see if it's been done before or not. But you generally just want to give the cleanest description you can without having to go into the history of where it all began and how it all evolved. And oh my gosh, like, some people just don't have the time to read that. I mean, I want you to enjoy the book, but at the same time, I don't want you to be bored by the book. So that's my idea of fluff writing. Fluff writing to me is when you take like Timothy Zahn's book would have been less chaptered. I can tell you right now, it would not be as long as it was. It would be actually, if they took out most of the stuff I wanted to take out, the book would be much, much shorter. And I could tell that it was more of a short story he was writing in each book. And then he just expanded on it to make it a full book. And I could tell. So that's where that is. And that's Star Wars. And they have editors that... And I'm sure they have ghostwriters, too, for those kind of books. So they're the ones that... They write the book. They give it to the ghostwriter. The ghostwriter embellishes on it. And then it's handed off to the editor, and the editor marks it all up and then rearranges it. And then it goes back to the writer, and they say, clean it up with whatever has been left. And then you get a totally different monster. Maybe that's why self-publishing is more practical for some people, because they like have better control over the books. So, and that's the end of that topic there. I'm not going to go into that either. And then it comes down to my next and final subject, which is the direction of science fiction fantasy, of pretty much this, I hate that term, gatekeeping. Listen, I mean, if you're the original writer and you created a character a certain way, it is not up to other people to change it. I don't like this whole idea of changing characters for the sake of whatever the modern day thing is. You see it happening constantly in some science fiction titles and comic books nowadays. You see it all the time. And it's getting bad. And it's just people are trying to change things. Like it's Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes should be the way it is. But yet every year they come out with something that tries to modernize it. And you go, okay, he was created in a time that was very specific. You're not trying to make it today's kind of, Sherlock Holmes. Sure, they're great. They can be on shows, and sometimes they're done very smart. But for the most part, the character should be respected and should be treated with respect, because that person went to a lot of trouble to make that character, and that's their character. I would hate for someone to reimagine my character. Oh my gosh. So in a world where we're living in reimagined series and redos, and I mean, I'm not going to be sitting here saying I don't like some redos. I do. I mean, I'm hypocritical that way. But at the same time, I would respect the character and their origin stories. And I would somehow try to incorporate to stay that loyal. And Doctor Who is another one of those examples where they just totally obliterated his character and destroyed his whole canon. Canon is important. Canon must be important. Canon has to be there to keep the structure whole. And that's how I see it. Canon is canon. And to go about and retconning it is a complete and utter middle finger to the person that created that story in the first place. And that's such disrespect. I have no respect for that person who ever does that. Just none. They want to change Superman. Why? Why do you want to change these people? They were there for a reason. They were made in a time when that was possible. Now, if you have a problem with that, that's too bad. But if you want to try to tweak it for today's society, keep the character who he is. you can do it. You can make that character stay in the canon position. It's just, I don't know. I think I get a little worked up about that. But when I see this happening all the time, it gets me worried about where the future is going in terms of writing and books and stuff like that. To me, that's just the same as book burning. Now it's character burning. I mean, when I saw the Star Wars sequels just totally obliterating characters' histories or making them lesser than what they were, it bothers me that it's just such disregard for beloved characters, for something that fans love for generations. And I said, if you don't like it, create your own universe, your own characters, not that person's. We want to go for another type of galaxy where that happens, go for it. But don't steal it. Don't try to retcon it. And certainly don't disrespect the original. So, that's my little qualm on that one as well. So yeah, and that's the end of that subject. So I'm busy trying to work on some new books. I haven't gotten back to Professor Dark and Miss Shadow. I've been so bad about that. So if anybody's been looking forward to that book, it could be a while, because that one is taking its time. And I think I want to try to give it the best respect I can for those characters. I mean, I've got the collective series out of the short stories that should tide everybody over. If anybody's a fan of paranormal, horror kind of thrillers, then that's the book for you. And those are the characters for you. And I wrote them that way. And I know I've already gotten some things about, well, this female character should be stronger. Well, she's pretty strong as she is. I mean, if you don't see it, my gosh, like, I don't know what to say. It's like, it's a book. I wrote it. These are the characters out of my mind. Take it or leave it. And much the same I say for all the characters I create. Don't like them? Too bad. I'm writing these books more for me. Because these are my characters. These are books I would like to read. And if you want to read them, then come along with me, and see what they're like. But for the most part, I rate them for me, because these are stories out of my mind that I'm sharing with all of you. And I would certainly love to see what you had to say about the characters. But I don't want to be lectured about the do's and don'ts of these characters, because they're my characters. I know my characters. Every writer knows their characters, in, outs, thoughts, everything. If they don't, they're not a writer. They wouldn't know their characters. Come on. So, yeah. And I've got all mine to do. So I should get back to doing them. But that was just my thought for the day today. 3 subjects I wanted to touch on. Right now I'm working on releasing the Adventures of Deep Contact, The Massive Planet, which I'm currently waiting for release on April 30th of 2021, this year. So it's on Amazon for 99 cents for pre-order. And I'm just looking at the hardcover I've got now that got sent to me by Lulu, because I wanted to do a hardcover of the Adventures of Deep Contact. And it looks pretty good. There's just some minor things I had to correct and look at, but all in all, I'm actually quite pleased with the hardcover, and I may want to print more copies of it because it looks so good. I like the dust jacket, and it looks pretty good. And that's it for me for now. And yep, just a quick one today. And I thank you, and I will see you again soon. Please subscribe if you like, and share on Facebook, and we'll talk again later. Thank you very much.